Hi guys, welcome. So this is an interesting vlog of this past week. I did jury duty for the first time in my 30s. Now I've been summoned, but like a lot of people, I have just kind of been a no-show, or because you get summoned it's like 2 or 3 months out and you kind of forget, you know. So the county I'm in is kind of cracking down on it. Like they'll actually fine you like $1,500 if you don't show up. Some places and states and counties they're kind of lenient. Like if you don't show up, it's just kind of like, hey, you're an asshole. But you know, this time it's your, you know, it's your public service to be on a juror. Anyways, I thought it'd be a learning experience. But anyways, when we showed up, obviously for the courtroom you have to go through security. And my day, because it was a Monday, those are usually the busiest. It was, I think, around 250 to 300 people. They had like over 50 cases to try to deal with. Now they won't get through all of them in a single day, and some of them will be done without a juror, but the amount of people for jury duty just have to be present in case a judge needs those people. So when we first started, you ended up in something like this. So right here was kind of like our holding area, sort of like a giant conference room type thing. So they packed all 250 of us or so, and of course there wasn't enough seats, so a lot of people were standing and sitting against the wall. They take roll and all that stuff. You kind of, you know, hear and you sign in and everything. And then what happens is then you kind of watch a video and you're also lectured. So a real judge comes in and kind of talks to you about your service to jury duty, how it works and all that stuff. But then you watch like a 10-minute video explaining pretty much the same thing, what happens, your legal rights, and explaining what a jury is and how you should be proud as a US citizen to be a juror, and our legal proceedings of jury duty and stuff like that. Just kind of going in detail, just, you know, kind of a small video on it. But then after all that's done, after the check-in, the video, you're given kind of a lecture. It's about an hour and a half. Then you're free to go. You still have to stay on the court property, but you're free to go. So they have a cafe, which would be here. Okay, so a cafe that would be here, an outside part, which is actually pretty big with benches and all that stuff. And then a business center and a TV room, and then this right here is a hallway. So the TV room just had a giant, just as it sounds, TV and maybe like 30 seats in it, and you could just watch TV. No one could select what channel it was, so it was like the home improvement channel. Like, it was like, oh, make over this beautiful house. I was like, nah, I'm good, no thanks. But there was electrical outlets there, and people brought like Nintendo Switches, and they just had their headphones in and all that stuff. And then this, where it says bus, was business center, and that's more tables and chairs with outlets. So there's like a giant like table section around the outside, and you can sit down and be on your laptop, and a lot of people did that. But in case your name is called, you gotta get up within a minute. So if you have this huge like setup, it would be a problem. The hallway had a bunch of chairs, kind of like a waiting room, like along kind of like the back. And you were able just to sit there if you wanted to. It was kind of dumb because just a lot of like foot traffic, and you'd have had to keep moving your, you know, well, it was a big hallway, but it was just a lot of foot traffic. And the cafe was really nice. It had like just regular chairs and tables. It had couches, and it had like a stool section where, you know, you can sit on a stool. And then the outside part was real nice. The outside part, you know, I had benches and a grass area and all that stuff. So I mainly just hung out at the cafe area in the outside area. Real interesting. I kind of mentioned this in case you're worried about doing jury duty, because this room here where you check in looks like a DMV office. So it's just seats in the middle and then an outside part, and there's not enough seats. And when I first got there, I was like, oh my god, is this a room we're gonna have to stay in for the entire 8 hours? And no, after the lecture, you're free to go. You still have to be on property, but you're free to go. Then we all get to the, oh, they call it the assembly room. That's what they call it. So that right there is the assembly room. And then, so anyways, for the first half, all the way up until lunch, nothing happened. I wasn't called. A few people were and all that stuff. And then I did get called in after lunch. And so I went to the courtroom where an actual trial was going to be held, and they were doing jury selection. Now mine was on their third jury selection. So they only needed 3 more jurors. So there was 25 of us for the selection, and they only needed 3 more for this particular case, and they had been at it for a little while. This was a very particular case. It wasn't just an open and shut case. And when we entered, the judge kind of lectures us and fills us in, and the case that we were going to potentially do was going to be 10 days long. There was a lot of witnesses and issues. The estimated time was 10 days. He said it could end tomorrow, but we're looking at this case potentially being 10 days. And I was like, oh, okay. And immediately a lot of people started freaking out, because I work for a job that pays for jury duty, but only up to 5 days. And then anything after that, it's like you have to pay for yourself. So I would have had to have another 5 days without pay, which could really suck. It was a bad case. It was violence. It was obviously they didn't share every detail, but they were asking us questions about blood and gore and things like that, if we're okay with, you know, photos of that stuff and everything. It was just really interesting to pretty much stand in on. Bottom line is, I wasn't selected because they only need 3 more jurors, or 25 of us, and my last name starts with a W, so they kind of go in alphabetical order. And then by the time they got to H, both attorneys were happy with the selected 12. So I never even got interviewed by the attorneys for the case. And when they finally found their final one, they said, okay, the rest of you guys can go. And I was like, oh wow, awesome. So we had to go back to the waiting room, and then 5 o'clock hit, we all had a chance to leave. Now for the case, yeah, it would have been interesting to sit on, but I'm also kind of glad I didn't get accepted. And it was a case that had to deal with violence, and it wasn't a simple bar fight or something. A weapon was involved. The person didn't die but almost lost her life. The person on trial was essentially probably going to get like attempted murder and all that stuff. But the other catch is the guy was older, because he was there when we were in the courtroom. The guy that was on trial was in the courtroom with us while we were there, and it was sort of an elderly guy that you could tell has kind of been around the block, kind of like an OG thug type person. And if he gets convicted of this case or is found guilty, it looks like he'll probably be spending the rest of his life in prison. Like it was gnarly. There was going to be countless. One of the reasons why it was going to take so long is there was going to be a large witness panel. This person was beat really badly, to the point of like permanent damage being sustained to them. It was kind of rough. A lot of people wanted to be dismissed because of the nature of the case, because it involved violence and things like that. A lot of people are like, you know, I would be biased against this because, you know, something happened to them similarly in the past or something like that, you know. And it looked like it wasn't a high profile case, but it was definitely a case that would have made maybe the local paper, maybe not national or like statewide news or something like that, but it was something that was probably, you know, probably make the paper. It was pretty gnarly. This guy, if he did it, and accused of doing it, did some pretty serious damage. So, and anyways, I was just kind of like shocked, because this would have been my first case. And majority of the time, like my dad's done jury duty. He said a lot of times it's just like DUI cases or something stupid like theft or a stolen car or armed robbery. And like the stolen car would have been like the grandson stealing the grandma's car and just didn't bring it back. Like cases like that are just kind of open and shut, simple. You know, the jurors do get murder cases, that's for sure, and it's not anything in particular. You know, they get a jury service just like anything else. But a lot of times, of the 50 cases throughout the day, a lot of them will just be so a lot of cases throughout the day aren't necessarily dealing with breaking the law. It could be a dispute between 2 people that can't come up with an agreement, and there's the jury sort of assists with it on who should do what. This can be, usually family cases aren't, but two business partners that had a falling out kind of a thing. A lot of cases turn out to be that. There's a certain term for it, I forgot the name, but yeah, it wasn't one of those. This was a crime type case. It would have been interesting to do as my very first case, but nope. Anyways, I did my service duty. I don't have to show up again for another 12 months if I get called again. But I don't know, something to talk about. Just thought it was interesting, sharing my my first time on jury duty, and yeah, it was enjoyable. But anyways, stay tuned. If you stay tuned till the end, thanks and for sticking around, and that's it. See you around. Bye.